Come on, boys, let me look at your nails. Each one of you stand up and hold out your hands for me to see. The nails were overgrown and full of dirt, and now I went on, please take off your caps. The caps were dirty and tattered. The boys looked at their caps. Now check your buttons, I continued. Are they all right? They looked at their clothes. Only a few of them had all the buttons. That will do for now, I said. We are getting late for the story. I began the story. A boy stood up. Sir, what about the storybooks that you were going to get for us? I shall get them in a day or two, I said. Those who are interested in reading storybooks, please raise your hands. All hands went up. Now please tell me the names of storybooks that you have read. A couple of boys had read 2 or 3 stories. These were students of Standard 4, but none of them had read anything outside the textbook. Do you read any magazines? I asked. We read Balamitra, 2 of them said. All right, I said. We shall get storybooks. You will read them. We will have enough books for you to read to your heart's content. That seemed to please them immensely. I continued the story. At the end of the day, the bell rang and the school was over. I told the boys, one more thing before you go. Remain in your seats and listen. Then I told them to get their nails clipped. Do it yourself if you can, I said. Or maybe you could ask your parents to help you, or you could get them clipped by a barber. One boy said, I will cut my nails right now. I will bite them off with my teeth. No, I said. You must use either a nail cutter or a pair of scissors. Addressing the whole class, I said, shall we have a little fun? They were intrigued, and I went on. I suggest you come to school without your caps. Why wear dirty caps? And what is the use of a cap? They began to laugh. One cannot come to school bareheaded, they told me. The headmaster would get angry. If I come bareheaded tomorrow, will you also do the same? I asked. They were doubtful. What if our parents do not permit us? Tell them the cap is a useless burden, and besides, these caps are tattered and dirty. It is better not to wear anything rather than wear a dirty cap, is not it? Another thing, get the missing buttons sewn on. Clothes without buttons look shabby. That made them think as they went home. The headmaster sent for me. Mr. Lakshmaram, he said, you are creating problems. Why do you indulge in such fads? Clip nails and get buttons sewn on. Indeed. Why don't you stick to your new methods of teaching, which is what you have come here for? Clipping nails and sewing buttons are parents' jobs, not the school's. Why should we bother about it? And mind you, the boys cannot be allowed to come to schools bareheaded. It is indecent. Permission from the education department is needed. I said, sir, this really is the new approach, and these are the new methods in education. What else can be the first lesson for boys who are slovenly and disorderly? Except neatness and cleanliness and order. The children were themselves ashamed when I drew their attention to their slovenliness. They know that one should not remain so dirty. I am sure many will try to keep clean and tidy, if they are taught how to. As for the caps, I shall refer the matter to the education officer. If he does not permit it, the proposed change will of course be cancelled. After dinner that evening, I went to see the education officer. What brings you here at this time? He asked. Sir, I have a request to make. Yes? Can the boys and I come to school bareheaded? Why? Their caps are very dirty. These are all sorts of caps. What is wrong if they don't wear caps when they come to school? Would not it be better if they do not have this burden on their head at this young age? People will find it strange and ridiculous, he said. I feel we need not interfere with their social customs in our present experiment. We should restrict ourselves to finding out what improvements we can make in teaching within the four walls of the school. Cut out this cap business. I felt this was a short-sighted view. All the same, I saw no point in insisting on my view. I thought it might be unwise to antagonize the education officer and parents at this stage. I modified my request. Would it be objectionable if the pupils walked bareheaded in the classroom? Not in the least, he said. You may make any change that you want in the classroom. If people get used to that in course of time, I will not insist on their wearing caps. Another thing, sir, I said, I want to start a library in my class. Can I get a grant for it? How can you get a special grant for it? Your experiment is, in a way, a matter between you and me. The school is to be run within the provisions made in the budget. You must manage your requirements within the small amount that may be share of your class from the budget amount. What do I do then? Drop the idea for the moment. I have another plan, I said. I can take recourse to it if you approve. Every pupil has to buy textbooks for language, notes on these textbooks, a textbook for history, and so on. Well, I suggest that the pupils be asked not to buy the textbooks. Instead, we collect from them an amount equal to the cost of these textbooks, and from the amounts collected we buy good interesting books. This should help to build up a library. And how would you teach without textbooks? I have thought about it. I depend on my method of teaching in this respect. I shall be able to convince you better about this when I put into practice. That may be so. It is your experiment and you are responsible for the result. But I must warn you, you must ensure that the pupils do not suffer in the end. I am with you, no doubt, but I am a little apprehensive about the outcome. Please let me try, sir, I said. God willing, our efforts will bear fruit. All right, but what will you do with your library at the end of the year? You will distribute the books among the boys, won't you? Yes, in a way the books would belong to the whole class and the class must get them back. But I think I can persuade the parents not to insist on taking the books away, but leave them for the class library. It will then be the nucleus for a permanent class library. Every year, more and more books will be added to the library. Who knows whether the parents will accept such an arrangement? The idea is good. However, give it a try. But all said and done, I am not yet clear in my mind as to how you will teach without textbooks. I have my plans, sir. I took his leave and come home. Next day, school began as usual. I had thought that pupils would perhaps come bareheaded, but I was wrong. I learned that the parents had refused to let them go to school bareheaded. Their comment was, "How can you go to school bareheaded? Your teacher seems to be crazy." I inspected their nails. Hardly anyone has clipped them. They had various domestic problems to cite as reason for not doing so. Who the hell had time to sew on buttons anyway? One mother sent word, "Miss Teacher, if you were here to teach, please teach. That's all. Why do you indulge in all these fads? Do you think we have nothing else to do but clip nails and sew buttons and do this and that? Our children will be what they are. We don't have the time even for death. How do you expect us to do our bidding? I was astounded. I had expected the boys to be clean and tidy. Instead, I had got this message. Well, alright, I said to myself, I won't get anywhere in this way. I will have to seek the parents' cooperation on and one hand and instill in the pupils a liking for neatness and cleanliness on the other. I did not continue the conversation any longer. I began telling the story and finished it. Another story now, the boys demanded. We shall take up a new story tomorrow. I said, today we shall play games for a while. Play games? The boys were surprised. Yes, we shall play games. Which games can we play? Many, they answered. But how can we play games here? Why not? This is a school. Nobody plays game here. Have you ever seen anyone playing games there? Maybe, but we can play. I'll play with you. Come on. Some boys just stood there as if immobilized. Some ran out to play with a joyous shout. Soon, however, there was shouting all around. People in other classes turned to look. Teachers yelled at us. The headmaster came running out and reprimanded me. Look here, he said, you cannot play games here so close to the other classes. If you want to play, go to the playground over there. You are disturbing other classes here. I took the boys to the playground. The boys began running about like wild horses, shouting, Games, we play games. Which games do we play? I asked them. One boy said, Kho. No, said another, we play kabaddi. No, shouted the third, we play catch as catch can. We'll not play if you decide upon that game, said a fourth. Then we will play without you. Look here, I said, we have come here to play. If you are going to quarrel, we just go back to our class. No, we want to play. The boys became a little wary. Come then, we play Kho today. Two of you come forward as captains and select your teams. The selection of team took quite some time. Many wanted to be captains. Ultimately, I had to select two boys as captains, and the teams were selected by them. We started the game. And what a game! These were disorderly, noisy street urchins. Not one of them could be quiet while flying. Everyone shouted and quite unnecessarily. Oh, come on, lollipop, catch me. You haven't caught anyone, baby. Hey, mind that side. I told you he would escape from there. You fool, we lost because of you. And it went on like that. I asked myself, is this a playground or a fish market? Is this a game of Kho or a game of shouts and noise? When the game was over, a boy from the winning team began to tease the defeated team. We own you could not score over us despite your efforts. Though you had a good captain, we licked you. His opponent was annoyed. Yes, we lost. Now what do you have to say? The farmer continued with his teasing. You lost and good for nothing. We defeated you. Hooray! The latter was living with rage. If you say one word more, I will smash your head with this stone. The farmer persisted. Ever done that, baby? I will say 100 times we defeated you, we licked you. The latter lost his temper. He picked up a stone and hurled it at the farmer. The stone hit him, on the head and he began to bleed. I was stunned. Things were going very badly indeed. I took out my handkerchief and bandaged the boy's wound. I called off the boys and told them, from tomorrow we won't play games. But why should you punish us all when it was only those two boys who quarreled? We play games only if you agree to abide by two conditions I name. Agreed, they chorused. First, no one speaks while playing games. The one who speaks is out. Agreed. Secondly, no quarrels about winning or losing. It may be one team losing today and another team losing tomorrow. That should not be made an issue. We play for the sake of playing, for running about and to have a good time. We won't pick quarrels and break heads over winning and losing in a team. We agree, they said again. We came back to school. The injured boy with us. The children from other classes came over to look. One boy said a little sarcastically, "So, how was the game, huh?" They seem to have played wholly, another remarked. When the school broke up for the day, the other teachers and the headmaster met. One teacher asked me, tongue in cheek, "So you played war games?" Another teacher said, "Mr. Lakshmiram, why do you fool about with games? These are children from all sorts of families. They must be confined to the four walls of the school and subjected to memorizing and cramming. They will break one another's head if they are let loose. Don't you see what happens in the streets every day?" I knew, said the headmaster, that something untoward was going to happen. Well, this gentleman need a lesson, otherwise he won't be quiet. Games and in the school, nonsense. Sir, I answered, games are real education. Great powers are won on the playground. Games mean character building. That is why there was this fighting and a head was broken. Is not it? The headmaster retorted. While we were talking, the father of the injured boy arrived. He was in a great rage. "I don't want this kind of education," he roared. "See, he has a broken head. Where is the headmaster? Who beat my son?" I said, "Well, sir, the boys had gone out to play games. There was some quarrel and he got hurt. But who told him to go and play games?" the father asked. "Are the schools meant for studying or for playing? All through the day they play in the streets. I will send my boy to school only if you are going to teach." I could not say anything. The headmaster intervened. "Sir, this teacher is a new hand and is doing some experiments in teaching. Today he tried games and there was a fight there. I don't want any of your experiments. Teach the boy in the regular manner if you can, or else I will withdraw him from the school." The other teachers were laughing off their sleeves. What could I say? I went home. I could not react. I went to my room and lay down thinking, "It is disgraceful," I thought. But never mind, I have now already made some rules for playing games. I will add a few more, but games must be played. To my mind, that is true education. A thought came to my mind. I should call a meeting of parents to explain to them the importance of games. I should seek their cooperation in respect of cleanliness and order. I would not be able to achieve anything if I don't get their cooperation. They would certainly take that much trouble for their children. That is where we teachers fail. We don't seek the cooperation of parents. I must call a meeting of parents tomorrow. He had the parents' meeting. I wonder we had the parents' meeting. I wonder if I could rightly call it a meeting. I had invited about 40 parents. Only 7 gentlemen turned up. I was thoroughly disappointed. I had prepared the speech well. I went tired. Our part of the job is to make efforts. The speech was also an experiment for the purpose. In all seriousness, I made a thought-provoking speech lasting for about an hour. Of the 7 who had came, one was called back home and he left. Others listened to me with obvious boredom. To me, all my points were important and I had to explain them. I explained to them the difference between the right and wrong in education in great detail. I explained how cleanliness was next to godliness. I showed them how games helped character building. I explained the importance and value of inner discipline. I criticized the existing system of education in schools and their regulations. But all this was a waste of time and effort. The few who had come as a matter of courtesy were inclined to go away and left hurriedly as soon as the speech was over. We teachers and the education officer stayed behind. The education officer smiled a little and said, Mr. Lakshmiram, yours was a fruitless effort. Who would understand your philosophy? A teacher at my back commented in a low voice, the impractical fool. I felt bad but did not say a word, and I was convinced that I was after all unpractical. I did not know at all what kind of speech should be made to simple folk. The teachers went home laughing. I took up the library project after about 8 or 10 days. I had told the boys many stories. They were in standard 4. It was time they had books to read. I told the boys, bring money for the language textbook and history textbook. We shall arrange everything here. But the next day, one of the boys came with textbooks for language and history. My father had brought them for me right on the day our results were declared, he said. Another boy said, I have also brought the books. They are my elder brother's books. A third boy said, I am not going to buy books here. My uncle is going to send them to me from Bombay. One boy said, my father refused to give money to me. He says he will buy the textbooks for me. World over, I said to myself. Setting up a library was quite easy to imagine. Doing it is quite another thing. Some boys had brought money. I accepted the money from them and gave them receipts. Next day, the boys came asking for the textbooks. I said, I have bought these storybooks for you from the money collected from you. You had said that you would like to read stories, so I have bought storybooks. The boys were happy to see illustrated books with colorful jackets. There was this scramble for the books. Look here, I said, we have at present only 15 books. 15 boys will be able to read. The remaining 20 will come to me hear what I read. To avoid confusion, I added The first 15 boys will pick up the books, the others will come to me. The first 15 boys picked up the books and began to read. I said, as soon as a boy finishes reading book, he should return it to my table and should pick up another one which may be there. In this way, every one of you will be able to read all the books. I called the others to my table and began model reading from a storybook. I read with proper modulation of voice and proper accent. But what a noise those 15 boys made reading aloud all together. I stopped and told them, boys, please read silently. We are disturbed by your loud reading. The boys lowered their voices, but they had not learned silent reading. They could only read aloud. They kept their voices low for a while and then lapsed into loud reading. I asked them to sit in the veranda and spread out a little. I remained in the classroom. The model reading went on. The story was specially chosen. All the children listened with interest. So model reading and the reading by pupil went on till the bell rang for the day, and we all went home. Stories, games, library, model reading, attention to personal hygiene and orderliness of pupils. All this took up about 2 months of my time. I took stock of my work. I reviewed the work done. I felt I had taken only the very few steps. I had not done anything about the prescribed syllabus in language, arithmetic, history, science, etc. Some of the lessons had been covered in other classes. I would have to complete everything by the end of the year. That was the precondition for this experiment. Let me see what I have achieved so far. I thought to myself, the storytelling is going on well, and it has motivated the pupils, and a sort of order has been established. However, Champaklal and Ramanlal do not like stories. Ramji and Shankar find them too easy. Raghu and Madhu wink and make signs to each other all the while. They are inattentive and mischievous. Something will have to be done about it. As for games, it is true that the boys have come closer to me because of a game and regard me as one of themselves. They are not as afraid of me as they used to be. They listen to model reading very attentively after the games period, but the shouting and disorder while playing have abated only a little. I am trying very hard, but there is still a long way to go. There are only a few books in the library. I have not yet been able to convince parents about having a library rather than textbooks. I had believed that giving a talk and a little explanation to parents would suffice, but the parents here know only one thing: teach the boys, they say. They don't have time even to listen to anything else, and they don't understand either. Never mind, it is bound to come about if I persist. Tomorrow, if not today. I have enough time yet. The experiment was certainly not going to be easy. As our imagination broadens, our understanding grows, so do our ideals soar, and the seriousness and complexity of the task increases. Many questions troubled my mind. It seemed to me that my achievement is in respect of personal hygiene was not anything worthy of note. I had not been able to do anything about caps, and the clothes were clean for a day or two initially, and then it was back to square one. The nails are as unkempt as ever. I would have to follow this up. There was no other go. New habits are to be infused in society, and this called for repeated efforts. And it is not only the boys that I have to worry about. The education officer has also now become rather impatient. He has his own problems. He has to contend with his superiors and opponents. He wants to share the glory and therefore wants results, but he wants them quickly. He has his limitations in helping me. My colleagues, the teachers, have no faith in me. They look down upon me as an out and out impractical person. Maybe I am rather, besides, I have no experience, but I have no faith in their beliefs and their methods of teaching. Those annoy me. I am sure mine is the right approach. My boys don't run away from me. They love me, respect me, and obey me. Whereas the boys of other classes run away from their teachers. I have seen them mimicking their teachers behind their backs. Not a single boy approaches his teacher with a smile or with affection. They sit in their class silent, sullen and immobile, and they indulge in mischiefs and quarrels when they go out of their classes. I have given reasonable freedom to my boys in this respect. They have some outlet for their restlessness in the class itself, so they do not create much trouble outside. The other teachers say that I am spoiling the boys by overindulgence. They complain that I tell the boys stories only and don't teach them, that I make them miss their classes by taking them out for games. Alright, we shall see. These games and stories are, to my mind, half their education. I will have to bear in mind that my task is going to be difficult, and I should not lose sight of this. The stroke of 12 at midnight jerked me out from my reverie. Ultimately, everything is in the hands of the God. Better to leave it to Him. I said to myself, tomorrow will take care of itself. I fell asleep.